Myself, I kind of went through this deal here recently with the school in Keene. I applied for the school back in, my application was submitted in May, but I started the process applying, getting my transcript sent to the school. I talked to them in Andrews in March. So in March and April, I'm working on this all the way through May, and the school sends me emails, we got your information, thank you, but they kept telling me they didn't have my information. Through the Michigan Board of Education, I got my GED in the state prison in Michigan. So through the Board of Education in Michigan, I got them to contact Southwestern Adventist University. They sent them the email. I got confirmation that they received it, but they kept telling me, no, we're processing your application. Now, I was intending this to be my last time here in Midland. I anticipated being in Southwestern going to school starting August 20th. And when the pastor asked me to speak here today, I said, that'll probably be my last time. I'm probably going to be in Southwestern, and I'll probably be over there. And when it didn't happen, I immediately started questioning. Now, that's not I'm like, man, I'm still living in the greatest country on the planet. And then for not to get accepted in a school, it did get me down. I got a little discouraged. I said, well, maybe preaching's not what I'm supposed to do. If I'm trying to go to one of our schools to be better educated, to meet the needs of others with the gospel, and it doesn't get approved, it doesn't happen, maybe I'm pursuing a wrong path. Maybe I'm trying to do something here that is not in the, I hate to use the term, but it's not in the cards. So it got me down, I got disappointed, I got depressed, and I said, man, oh man, I was upset about it. And I said, that's it, I'm not gonna sweat it. I'm not gonna pursue that path. And I went to the prison the following week, and man, oh man, the inmates said things to me that, we look at these situations and we think, well, God, why isn't the Lord making this happen for me? Why isn't the Lord in this? And we look at these situations and we think about this in that aspect, but yet I go to the prison, inmates are telling me things about me coming to the prison that's life-changing. I mean, humbling. One young guy told me, well, he's not young, he's probably my age. He said, I've been a pastor of a church. I grew up, my dad was a pastor of a church. I was in a church all my life. He said, I was called into ministry at 18. I had my own church at 21. And he said, I was coming through the chapel here, through the gym here one day, and I heard you up there speaking. And I thought, wow, man, listen to what this guy's saying. He goes, I thought it was very interesting. So he said, I came back again next Sabbath, and I heard you again, and it started. He goes, I grew to hate you. And I said, I'm letting him talk. If I took things personal in my life, who knows? But nevertheless, I just let him continue his talk. And he goes, I hated you. I hated what you were saying. But I would write down the scriptures, the verses you're talking about. I'd go back and I'd check them in my cell, and I hated it. And every time I said, I'm not going over there. And he said, for some reason, I'd get called over here to the chapel's area, and I'd get trapped because of count or something. I'd be stuck in here and have to hear you again. I said, well, I hear you. All right. And he goes, you know what? He said, now I can't hear you enough. Now I can't get enough of what you're saying. He says, I come to the conclusion after going back and studying these verses and these scriptures and these things that you're saying, that I never preached the gospel. I didn't preach the word of God. I was preaching a church doctrine. And he goes, after hearing you, you're preaching the word of God. Amen. And he goes, it's changed my life. And I mean, we can look at it, even a person like me, with my past. I got 10 felony convictions. I've, slinging dope, gangsterism, gunfights. A person like me, God can use us if we surrender. Now, what God's plans are for me, as far as the school called me. I think it was August 23rd. Said, Mr. Casey. I said, yeah. I said, we got your application here. I see you want to start in the spring semester. I said, no. He goes, didn't you apply to the school? I said, yes. He goes, well, I see here you want to start in the spring semester. I said, no, I don't. I said, I applied to start August 20th. And I said, I applied in the spring to go August 20th. I didn't apply in the spring for the following year later spring semester. And I said, let me tell you something, sir. Now, folks, this is what it is. I'm not bragging on myself. I told him, I said, I'm the associate director for prison ministries for our Texaco conference of our denomination. I said, I am a prison ministry director for my church. I said, I'm an assistant chaplain for Texas Department of Criminal Justice. And I do a lot of speaking events for our faith. And for you guys, the way you guys dropped the ball on me on this, I said, I'm done with it. He goes, so, well, what we want to do, you sent us your GED, didn't you? I said, yes, I did. He goes, well, we didn't get your scores. I said, I got emails from July 9th from the admissions director that they received the scores. I got emails from Velarde, another admission individual, that they received the scores. But now you're telling me you don't have them again. I said, that's cool, man. I'm done with it. I'm done with it. So I'm not going to sweat it. Whatever the Lord's got me wanting me to do. And think about this, folks. There's going to be a child born in Cincinnati, Ohio tonight. And that child could live 6 years in Cincinnati, Ohio, and they could move over to Philadelphia and live 6 years. And then from Philadelphia, now he's 12, and then from Philadelphia move down to Houston and turn 20 years old living in Houston and may commit a crime once he's 20, commit a crime in Houston and wind up in Texas Criminal Department of Justice. Who's going to be over there at Preston Smith unit to give him the gospel? So God's looking at these things far bigger plans than we got these things in our mind, like we look across the street and, well, that grass looks green. And we look at these things and our vision and our focus is limited because we can't comprehend it. Infinity, eternity, no beginning, no end. So I'm just going to continue on what the Lord's got me doing, and I anticipated being in Dallas. I anticipated living over there right now, but God's got other plans. All right. It is what it is, folks, and I'll be honest with you. I'm doing the work now. I wanted the degree because people require the degree. You understand? I'm doing the work now, but people want to see the degree, but I'm doing the work. So, I just wanted to get the degree for other people. It's not, I don't need that degree to preach the gospel and have people's lives changed. I don't need it. So,
it can give you an honorary degree.
Yeah. I want to mention this too real quick before we get going here. Let me tell you this. And in the process of all this, the 700 Club, I told you guys, it was September last year, the 700 Club, this is crazy. One of the prison guards from the federal prison I was in Michigan, you know, I've been in contact with these guys. You know, when you're walking around the yard day after day after day, you become familiar with these people working in these prisons, and you become somewhat friends with them. Now, this guy asked me to go to Florida with him every year. He's got a timeshare. I've been to his house. I went to his daughter's graduation in Bowling Green, Ohio. He lives in Toledo, Ohio. These guys treated me extremely well in the prison. And this guy seen the transformation in me through the Holy Spirit, through God, while in federal prison. I went into that federal prison, a member of the Outlaws Motorcycle Club, extremely aggressive, violent individual, had been in the newspapers, in the news there in Detroit, all this stuff. He's seen me come in as that person and seen me leave that person, surrendered my heart to Jesus Christ. So he's seen it. So he sent me an email. This was over a year ago. He said, David, why don't you get on the 700 Club? I said, they're not going to put me on the 700 Club. He said, no, man. He said, I see these dudes on the 700 Club all the time. Your testimony's way better than theirs. I said, yeah, but I'm a Seventh-day Adventist. I said, they're not going to put me on the 700 Club. He goes, no, man, you get a contact them, let them know. I said, no, they're not going to do it. I'm a Seventh-day Adventist. They're not going to put me on the 700 Club. He says, well, can I call them? I said, sure, you can call them. It was, I don't know, 3-4 months went by, and they called me up. He had told me he did it. And they called me up, sent me an email, and said, we want to set this up to do a 2-hour phone interview about sending a film crew out to video your testimony. So I said, yeah, cool, all right, sure. And they called me one day. I was on the phone with them for 2 hours. This was September last year. And then they said, well, a producer's going to get a hold of you, and it might take a little time, but a producer's going to get a hold of you, Dave, and they're going to come out there and video, do some shooting and all this. I said, all right, cool. Well, they just did here recently, notified me the other day. And I said to the producer, he goes, they're going to do it September 27th. But I said to the producer, I said, listen, would you guys like to go into the prison with me? Because to me, this is the Boost Prison Ministry. Not necessarily my ministry, Onesimus Freedom Ministry, but I want to boost prison ministry, period. Whether it's at the prison I'm at or wherever. So they said, yeah, sure. Do you think you can make that happen? I said, I think I can make that happen. So I wanted to do it in the prison, and then they called me back again the other day and said, David, we're going to have to reschedule. We're going to be in Dallas, and we got to go to Oklahoma City. And he goes, I didn't realize how big Texas is. And then I got to drive all the way to Midland. He goes, it's just too far. I'm going to reschedule you. We'll do it another time. I said, hold it. Hold it. Now, I'm waiting a year to do this. I said, let's just go ahead. Let's just go ahead and do it. I said, I'll come to Dallas. And he goes, will you? I said, yeah. So I'm going to Dallas. There's a church there in Arlington. The pastor there now used to come into the prison when I was in the federal prison in Seagoville, Ohio, back in early 2000. He used to come into the prison there. And so I know him. He's got a church there in Arlington Southern Worship Center. It's a brand new structure, brand new church. Pastor Anderson, so I called him. We can do it in his church. But as I talked to him about it, told him I want to try to do this through the prison. Pastor Tyrone Boyd is the pastor of Agape Seventh-day Adventist Church there in Lancaster, Texas. And Tyrone Boyd is also a chaplain at the Federal Medical Facility there in Fort Worth. So we're still trying to make this happen in a prison. So we'll see. We'll see how it's going to go. But nevertheless, the 27th, I'm going to go over there, and they're going to film my testimony, and it's going to be on 700 Club. And they know I'm a Seventh-day Adventist. They know it. So, and I explained it to them. I told them about it. They've talked to Pastor Razone here. But that's not my push, folks. Sure, I would like everybody to be Seventh-day Adventist, but my push is prayerful relationship with Jesus Christ. Point blank. So this is the same message I preach in the prisons, because let me tell you something. I can't tell you all how many people, and I'm still waiting for the documentation from our conference so I can baptize people in these prisons. New Mexico, here in Texas. I got people wanting to be baptized in the Seventh-day Adventist Church. So pray for that, for Pastor, the conference president to send me the documentation I need. But, so, nevertheless, I have people ask me. I'm not in there saying, oh, you got to get in the Seventh-day Adventist Church. It's the remnant church of God. We are. And the message is, our message to the world, the three angels' message is the message. The last day message. There's no doubt about this in my mind. I'm convicted of it. But I have them, I enjoy it so much better when they say, man, what church you go to? What church is this? And I've had many inmates ask me, what church is this? What church do you go to? And that's when I can lay it on them. And that's when they realize I'm not in there pushing a church denomination. I'm pushing a relationship with Jesus Christ, because that is what changes people's lives. Point blank. On a lighter side, this man went to his local church and he asked the preacher and says, I want to be a member of this church, talking about church membership. And he went to the preacher and he says, I want to be a member of this church. And the preacher said, okay, but first you got to answer a little Bible test. I got a little Bible test for you first. And the question is, where was Jesus born? The man answered, Longview. The preacher said, sorry, can't join our church. Oh, man, so the guy was bummed out, feeling dejected. So he went to another church and he asked to join that church. And the preacher said, yeah, we'd love to have you. We'd love to have you here, but we got a little question we'd like to ask you. We got a Bible question we'd like you to answer for us, and then you can become a member of our church. So the guy says, yeah, where was Jesus? What's the question? He goes, I'm ready for it. What's the question? He goes, where was Jesus born? And the guy goes, Tyler? Nope. Preacher said, sorry, you're wrong. Can't join our church. So the dude's all bummed out. He's kicking rocks, walking down the street, mad at the world. Goes down to, so he goes to another church and he has to join that church. And the preacher said, that's great. That's great. We welcome you here with open arms. And the man said, do I have to pass a Bible test first? You got a question you're going to ask me first that I got to pass? The preacher said, nope. And the man said, well, can I ask you a question? And the preacher said, sure. And the man asked this preacher, says, where was Jesus born? And the preacher said, Palestine. And the man mumbled to himself, he said, man, I knew it was somewhere in East Texas.